I need it all. Do you want it though? Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. Been through the struggle, I can see another drought. Yeah, it's not a purse, it's a merch. 6 figures was a goal, now it's 9 or a hearse. Put it work. Used to pull up, not swerve. No time for the snakes, trying to put them in the dirt, that's word. I gotta get it, it's in my DNA. You only see the highlights, don't know what it takes. Last year stressing, got no sleep. Now I'm right between the courts, I don't nosebleed. I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Bank deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call it my account. It's all in, I can have it coming out. And through the struggle, I can see another drought. Yeah, same circle, still the same gang. We just get to it, we don't gangbang. Lost some friends, to the same thing. Keep a low pro.
Hey guys, welcome to the 5Fs to Love. You know it's Saturday night, so you already know it's the Finance Squad. I'm always really excited about finances, and these guys, let me tell you something, you need to pay attention. So if you're just tuning in, you got a minute, go get your notebook, because we're going to start out with a warm-up so you can get to know them. The goal of this platform is to provide you with an opportunity just to get generic communication and feedback on finances and how to better prepare yourself for the future. Any specific questions that you may have, you can always reach out to each of their companies and make an appointment to speak with them specifically. We will not be providing or giving any specific financial advice on this podcast. Our goal is to make sure you are aware and understand how to manage your finances. So let me bring in the Finance Squad. You know what, Forrest? This is the first time everybody's seeing you.
Good morning. How you doing?
Excited. Well, hi. This is like really rock star because, you know, I just want to say Santana and Mordecai toured up last week.
Yeah. I tuned in and I saw the show and I got my work cut out for me, definitely.
I am so excited. You know, look, I'm going to be honest. I got to tease Santana. Santana didn't come in with full podcast ready to go from last week. Santana, how are you?
I am doing great and so excited about tonight's podcast. I'm really ready to educate the audience and let's put some good information out there so they can grow and reduce this financial literacy problem.
Oh my God, financial literacy is such a big issue across the United States, especially in the minority communities. And that's why I really appreciate you guys lending your time and expertise to help us get everyone educated on how they can move forward and have a better financial future. So guys, if you hadn't got your notebooks, you need to get busy right now because we're about to dig in. And I just want to say, when I watch this, I'm learning myself. It's not you guys just viewers learning. I'm learning a lot about my finances. So guys, in segment 1, we want to know, who is the Finance Squad? You know, I get a lot of questions about who are these guys. So one, Santana, you're from Florida. Forrest, you're from Michigan, and Mordecai is from Michigan.
Correct.
And I just want to say, you know, like, this is really odd to see like 3 Black men in finance. So personally, I'm excited 100%, because normally this is not the norm. I just want to say that, you know, I talk to you guys, but I think you're rock stars all the way around. So I want you guys to kind of share with us your rock bottom moment that made you focus more on finances, because that's not a norm for Black folks growing up, for us to decide, oh, we're just going to jump into finance. And we heard Santana's story last week, which everybody was just like really impressed with you, Santana.
Thank you.
So Forrest, what's your story?
So my story, rock bottom moment, or the aha moment. You know, Chris, I got to tell you, I don't know that it was more of an aha moment versus a series of events that took place early in my life. And I kind of realized things were different in my household versus other households. In elementary school, I took a bus across town to go to a school that at the time was predominantly white. Now, I don't really remember if I was part of a busing program, but I believe I was on the tail end of that program. And I just noticed that there was a fundamental difference about the kids who I went to school with, who I was in class with. Now, remember, from the perspective of a kindergarten, in a first grade, right? They brought their lunch to school, or they bought money to buy lunch. I was in the free hot lunch program line, depending on the month, with a green card that got stamped or a purple card that got stamped. But it was
That
clear.
was way back in the day, Forrest.
Yeah, I'm dating myself. There was a difference. And the kids in my line, they got razzed quite a few times. Now, we all had lunch to eat, but we got razzed. The clothes that the kids were wearing at the time, whatever the styles were at the time, I wasn't necessarily a stylish child. My body was just covered. So I noticed early on that there were some fundamental differences. And I had an event happen in first grade. There was a young man who I went to class with, who I became close friends with. He and I palled around a lot, so much so that sometimes when my mom, that's a single mom raising 5 kids.
Wow.
She would work late sometimes. And I would go to his house after school. His mom would pick him up. She'd pick me up, take us to his house. And that's where I'd be till my mother got off work and came and picked me up. Well, there was a time that came around where I couldn't go to his house. My mom told me in the morning, hey, you're not going to be going to his house after school today. That turned into like 6 or 7 months. Finally, when I was able to go back, there was a period of time where I didn't even see the kid in school. So I kind of wondered, but I went on about my day. And then I was able to go back over there. He showed up and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Hey, we're going to the house after school. Wait till you see. Okay, great. Oh, my goodness. We got to his house. Every toy that was hot on the item. Before the internet, you get these thick magazines sent
I
to
know,
the house.
remember?
Those
Montgomery Ward catalogs?
Yeah. J.C. Penney's,
Toys
Sears
R
and
Us.
Roebuck. Yeah. So we would do our Christmas shopping by going through this magazine. Now, in my household, sometimes the closest you got to those toys was the photo that was in that magazine.
Yeah.
When I went back to this young man's house, he had all that stuff, all the latest Star Wars toys,
Right.
the first computer-operated buggy, this thing called a brain buggy. I would have died for one of those things. Well, he had all these toys. And, you know, kids don't have a lot of couth, right? So I asked him, dude, what happened? Where'd all this stuff come from? And the young man told me that his father had life insurance. We didn't have a conversation about his father. I later found out that his father passed away. He died.
Okay. So how old were you in this moment?
I was in the first grade. So
wow, first grade.
8, 9 years old.
Wow.
All I took away from that conversation was life insurance bought him all these toys. That was the difference. So I couldn't wait to get home. Mom, yeah, so when are we going to get some of this stuff called life insurance? Because if you have that, you can buy a lot of toys.
Exactly. Your mind, life insurance equal toys.
Correct. I mean, jungle gyms, swing sets. The outside of his home looked completely different from when I had gone there prior to his father passing away.
Right.
So my mom's response, she was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and I vividly remember her response. She didn't look at me at all. She was at the kitchen sink preparing whatever she was preparing, and her response was short and sweet, short and quick. And she just simply responded with, well, that's something that white people do.
Wow.
And that left me pondering. I walked away. I didn't comment because, well, if you knew my mom, the way she answered the question, I understood that this conversation was over. So you really didn't say anything after that. But in my mind, I was thinking to myself, that's too bad.
Right.
We need to get some of that because my friend has all these things because of this thing called life insurance. And I think that was my first introductory into finances and understanding, or thinking I knew, understanding how to get your finances in order. And that sticks out to me vividly.
Wow.
Years later, my mother would say that she responded that way to that incident and several other incidents because I would ask questions that she didn't have an answer to. She said, you always had questions that I had no idea. So I would just answer most of the time with the first thing that came to mind. And you asked me about things that I wasn't doing and that nobody I knew was doing. Life
So
insurance
for
wasn't
you,
something that she had.
you're like 8 or 9 years old, and at that
Correct.
point, your first introduction to finances in some form was insurance. And from
Correct.
that began like a domino effect of additional questions to follow as it related to finances.
Correct. I was an avid basketball player, pretty good athlete. Actually, kind of runs in the family. 2 of my 4 sons play college basketball.
Awesome.
And I in the summertime, I was at this camp in Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm sorry, I was at an elementary school in Battle Creek, Michigan. They had summer programs at elementary school during the day. Kids could go up there and
Yeah.
have all kinds of activities during the course of the day. So me and a group of guys are just outside playing basketball, and I'm playing with an older group of kids. Well, there's this guy that's watching us, and after a couple games, he pulled me aside. He introduced himself and told me he was a camp counselor, a basketball camp counselor at a school called Hillsdale College, small college in southern Michigan.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to come to this basketball camp. He thought I showed a lot of potential. So he took me home. I got in trouble for getting in the car and riding home with this guy who I
Of
didn't
course
know.
you did.
But he took me home, and him and my mom were sitting at the kitchen table, and I was kind of in the conversation. But again, during that time, kids stayed in the kids' place, and that wasn't in an adult conversation.
Exactly.
So I was in another room, low-key eavesdropping on their conversation.
Right.
Well, as it turned out, I couldn't go. And I was kind of disappointed about not being able to go to this camp. And I asked my mom why I couldn't go. And her 2 responses were, 1, that's too far away for my baby to go alone. And 2nd, there was an insurance that had to be covered, like a health insurance in the event of an injury that cost money.
Yeah.
And mom didn't have the money. So again, there were a series of incidents that happened before I was 15 years old that kind of formed my
concept of
thought
finance.
process. Yeah, it seemed like finances got in the way of a lot of stuff.
And
I
think in our
didn't want that to
culture,
happen to me as an adult. I wanted to change the narrative on that.
right. And that's what happens a lot in our culture. So that kind of lends to my next question with you guys. What made each of you think you could transition that love for finance into managing other people's funds? I mean, because I'm going to tell you, I had a lawn service back in the day when I was 10. It was a lot of divorcees. See, on my block, they was called divorcees. And I started a lawn business because they needed somebody to cut their grass. And I was making a lot of money as a 10 to like 14-year-old cutting grass because I was doing the shrubs, the back and front. I was walking away with $25, $30 a house. Well, you're talking about 20-something houses on the block. I was loaded as a kid. So, but the thing is, that didn't transition real talk into a landscaping company. I do my own landscaping at home. So I asked that question because a lot of people have these passion for things or concepts or ideas, but you guys actually took that, and Santana, you turned it into a business.
Yes, I a lot of times you hear the saying that your greatest pain is where your greatest prosperity is at. And I think a lot of times when you see African American advisors, it was kind of birthed out of the fact that we didn't have, and we didn't want someone to go without the way we did. So it was said before to me, if you want to get paid, you go to where the problem's at. And there's a significant problem, and especially in the African American community, with managing the finances. I think I've always wanted to do something where I knew it when I laid my head down at night, did I really help someone? I didn't want to just make money without the human factor being involved or really doing goodwill. And a lot of times when you start off as an advisor, Forrest, you can testify to this. You're not making any money at first because you're building a book of business. And so if you don't have passion, you don't have the desire to help people, this is an industry that you'll be out of real quickly.
Real quick.
Because you got to believe it's going to get greater later, because very few people start off with in the African American community with a book of business that can even that your family can live off of. So, so you have to have a true passion for this. This has to be something more of a calling than a job, because most people that see it as a job don't last long. I mean, it's a big turnover. when you go to some of the bigger wire houses, they put a mandate that you have X amount of assets under management in the year 1 or 2, and if you don't meet that quota, they just send you on your way. So
Correct.
this is something that you just don't sleep at the Holiday Inn and decide you want to do tomorrow. This has to be a calling that in and out of season. And there's and I don't know if you'll speak to it, Forrest. One thing about this industry is a lot of people say that they want to help, and you're excited when they sit before you. But as you go down the road, you start realizing that the potential client doesn't want to make the changes in their life.
Correct.
And that wears on you. It wears on you because I got a quote that I said, I'm not looking for names, but I'm looking for change. I'm really looking to change people's lives, and I'm not trying to load up a bunch of names. I want people that's committed to not only changing their life, but changing their generations to come.
Yeah. I like that. So Forrest, before you respond, I got a quick commercial break. When we get back, we're going to hear Forrest's response, because I want you guys to understand a passion is one thing, but when you take passion and you turn it into something you really want to do, like Santana said, you got to come in with a game plan, because it don't always make money right away. So you got to be in it to win it. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Taking the lead, feeling your heat. Just wanna give you my best. I don't even know your name, but you got me. 'Cause you're old to die. We don't know what happens next, but you got me. 'Cause I'm next in line. You make it look so easy, making me feel so dreamy. Never wanna pay for drinks, but you got me. 'Cause you're old to die. Got me locked in now. Go ahead and take a shot. Do you really want me? Maybe you're just...
Hey guys, welcome back to Finance Squad. You guys know this is one of my favorite days, because this is the time to get your money right. Okay, so we left off. We were getting how they made the transition from their passion into making this a career path. And Santana left off by saying, it was some moments where, when you're in financial planning, you don't make money right away. So you got to be prepared for that and still stick in there and make that money. And I mean, you guys are great examples of that. Forrest, I mean, you're like the number one dude. I just want to be real. Like, you're a rock star. Like, you were kicking boots. And I say that, folks, real talk, he's older than us. So this is a real conversation. And he came in at a time where you didn't see a lot of Black folks out here doing what he's doing. So I just want to say, if you were, I would curtsy to you right now, because you're like a trailblazer. So just take this as my curtsy to you.
Well, I appreciate that. So Santana really hit on something. I probably should have said this first in my introduction. The first thing I am is a follower of Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior. What I didn't know, all those incidents that took place when I was a young man or a young child, everything was leading up to where I'm at today. I initially got into the financial services industry, and it was about me. I wanted to change my lot in life. And then secondary, I wanted to change that of my children and my grandchildren. I've always been about legacy and the importance behind legacy, knowing who you are, where you came from, what's in a name. I believe vernacular is extremely important. You are what you tell yourself you are. You are who you tell yourself you are. So coming into the industry, I just wanted something different. As a young teenager, I saw a movie in the early 80s called Wall Street. And I was attracted by the trappings of the things that I saw in that movie. And that's what kind of geared me toward financial services. Now, I had no idea what a financial advisor was. I could not see myself. I couldn't go anywhere and see an African-American male or female operating in that capacity. So what I did is I found the manager of a bank, Michigan National Bank, the old Michigan National Bank, downtown Lansing. There was a manager who was Black, and I sought him out. kind of like my mom said, you always ask questions that I don't have the answer to. Nobody in my family did. If I wanted to work at General Motors
Right.
or Ford or Chrysler
Yeah.
or for the state of Michigan, I could talk to people in my family, and I'm not demeaning those positions at all.
Right.
But that's what my people did. I wanted something different. So I would go down and talk to this guy at the bank, and I was blessed in that he entertained the conversation. That's where it all started for me. As I got into the industry, the Lord kind of tapped me on the back of the head and said, listen, I didn't gift you with the things that I gifted you with, and I didn't bring you into this industry for yourself. Not that you won't benefit, but really what I want you to do is be like PVC. I'm going to send you some people, and the gifts that I bestowed upon you are going to flow through you to them. And you'll be able to glean some of what your talents and your gifts offer you. That's really how I got into the industry. Santana's correct.
Wow.
The failure rate is astronomical. First of all, to pass the licensing that it takes to become a financial advisor, that eliminates 70% of the individuals who have a desire to actually get into the industry. The exams are difficult to pass.
I was going to say that kind of lends to my next question. Like, for everyone looking for a financial advisor, what are some of the common things that they should be looking for? A lot of people don't even look for that. And so the thing is that you guys get licenses and you take exams.
Yeah. So if you're looking for an advisor, now an advisor and a counselor can be, and oftentimes are, two different things. An advisor, that requires some licensing. A counselor, well, you can just say, I'm a counselor, hang your shingle outside and start talking to anybody who wants to sit down and talk to you.
Wow.
As an advisor, I have a Series 7 and a Series 66. Those are actual professional licenses. I'm also a fiduciary.
Forrest, I'm sorry. Let me go back a little bit. So we're clear. A person can call themselves a financial counselor and just open up a business and not have taken any type of. Okay, so folks, if you see the word counselor, ask more questions.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Ask more questions. But you're saying you went and got, and you have and by the way, folks, these tests are not easy. I just want to be clear. They're not easy. And I'm a math person. I just want to be clear. These are not easy. So you went and got what certifications? I got a Series 7. Okay.
So Series 7 basically allows me to buy and sell and trade stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Okay.
I got a Series 66. A Series 66 allows me to charge a fee for my services. It licenses me in the state or states that I do business. And then I have a health and life. Health and life is I can sell life insurance, disability, annuities, things of that nature, things offered by insurance companies. And all of this is a part of, all of these things come into play when you sit down with somebody and you're designing a strategy, or we call them financial plans. When you put together a plan to get a person from point A to point B or Z. You also want to make sure that that individual is a fiduciary. There are certain types of obligations that a fiduciary has to you that someone who isn't a fiduciary doesn't have.
Okay. So just real quickly, Santana, you have multiple certifications as well.
Yeah. So what I started, I'm a CPA by initial. So what I realized, funny, I came to CPA because they said most CFOs and presidents were CPAs when I was in business school. So after working with the top accounting firm in the world in the mid 90s, then I was forced to figure out how can I bridge from being a CPA and to doing financial planning. So I went and took all the courses for the CFP. I decided not to sit for the CFP because I deal with a lot of business ventures and stuff like that. But I passed all the courses and got the education. And so I've been more as a business manager. But my company, we do have CFPs. And we actually have a person on board that's a doctoral candidate to get a PhD in personal finance. Nice. And so we've been able to bridge the cash flow management, the tax planning, And they also, in many articles, they say the most trusted advisor is your accountant. If you read so I start, and a lot of people start asking me questions about their finances, about the mere fact that, hey, you're doing the planning for the business, you're doing the preparation of the taxes for not only the business, but for their personal finances. So you're seeing all the intimate details. So it to me, it just made perfect sense for that to be a segue to have a company that would do everything. So we have a full service financial management company in terms of we do the investments, all the license that Forrest holds. We have individuals in the office that holds those. But the relationship is unique because the relationship starts with me, because you can't get started till you do a budget, till you get your taxes in order and all that. And then at a point that we feel that the clients are ready to move into investing, that it goes to the other sides of the office. Because typically, and you can attest to this, Forrest, it makes no sense to put your money in the market, then you don't have a budget in place and you need to pull out at an inopportune time. If you had to pull out some money in the market last year, you would have got creamed. You would have. So that's the basics of starting with financial. The proper financial behavior is step one. I mean, some people make enough money that if they just got the budgeting piece right, they can crack the code for getting their finances in order. So, but everybody's a different situation. And on this podcast, we're talking to everyone. We're not just talking to those that have, but we're talking to those that don't have. It starts with getting the proper financial appetite for what your financial situation is.
What it is,
because you can't eat more than your financial plate can provide. And so
I'd also like to say, Chris, Santana, he mentioned the word relationship. Listen, if you are seriously looking for financial help with or through a financial professional, Santana and I are actually in the relationship business. Listen, people don't really care how much you know till they know how much you care. I'm in the relationship business. Once you do your due diligence, do you have a relationship with this person? When I get into conversation, when you really sit down and somebody opens up about their finances, they're opening up themselves, because finances are so ingrained in every aspect of your life. Oftentimes, I feel like a shrink and not a financial advisor. I'll sit with a client and have a conversation for a good hour, and finances never comes up. It's other things. And these other things, they determine so much. They impact your finances, how you think about finances, how you view money. These other things really need to be addressed as you're working through what my finances look like and what I want them to be.
So, guys,
I think we're cutting out.
Yes. So, guys, I want to let you guys know, real quick note for all of our viewers. I hope you took notes. One, there's a difference between Forrest and Santana and what they do, but there are some common things about them. So, again, a financial advisor, a financial professional, you need to ask them specifically what it is that they do. And the most important thing, well, two very important things. One, you need to understand this is going to be a personal relationship with them. So you need to have a good communication with them. And the other thing is, both of them said it. You got to start off with a budget. For all of you guys not starting out with a budget, stay tuned next week because we're starting out with Budget 101. We get back from this commercial break. We're going to just give you a high-level overview for all of you interested in looking at the stock market. I need to know what a NASDAQ is, honey, because I like to buy certain stocks. And I don't have to, I'm going to be clear, I don't even know what I'm doing, but we're about to find out what that is on a basic level. So I hope you got your pen and your paper still out. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Hey guys, welcome back to the Finance Squad. If you didn't have your pen and paper out, you still got time. Go get it. Because we're going to talk about one of the things I like the most. Of course, number one, I got my budget together. So that's number one. But just understand this too, that the people that I work with that manage my money, you got to work on the budget first. And that's why I listen to everything these guys are saying. Sometimes you need somebody to be the boss of you. Okay. Because sometimes you don't know how to boss your own money. I can be the boss of the company, but sometimes I need people to boss me on my money to keep it right. So guys, like, I know for me, like me and my son, we do this thing of we like Nike, right? So we just go in, we just start buying Nike Scott because he wears them. So one of the rules that I had in my household was if you're going to buy it, then you need to buy stock. Stop buying the clothes, go buy the stock because stock is going to make you more money. But of course, you know, everybody went crazy because we have ups and downs. And I always tell people either you're going to play for the long game or the short game, but either way, you still need to know the basics. So all of you out there who don't understand what the market is, the first thing I'm going to ask you guys is, what is the market? I know it's some kid watching like now thinking that the grocery store is the market you're talking about, and it's not. So let's break this down for us people who don't know. What is the market?
So from an investment perspective, there are several markets that one can invest in. For the sake of this conversation, and just simply for a broad overview, we're going to talk about three of the markets that people hear the most about. You hear it on television, on Newsweek, you read about them in magazines. And this would be the Dow industry or the Dow 30. This would be the S&P 500. And this would be the NASDAQ.
Okay,
now,
so Forrest, I know you about to get all limited. So let me just folks, we're going to keep Forrest because we got to keep it together. What is the Dow 30? Because I'm taking notes. Don't be giving me the whole thing. I need, first of all, y'all know I get sticky notes. Keep it real. What's the Dow 30?
So the Dow 30 is the Dow Jones Industry Average. That's DJIA. That's the acronym for it.
Okay.
Basically all it is those 30 stocks. These are large, publicly owned blue chip companies. They give you an indication. They're sold on the New York Stock Exchange, and they give you, and some of them are sold on NASDAQ also. They give you an indication of what's happening in the world of markets. It's
okay, so
30 companies.
What is a blue chip? When you say blue chip market, I don't know what that means, a blue chip company.
So these are one of the big boys. These would be like your General Motors and things like that nature.
Okay.
So they pick 30 blue chip companies, and these companies can change. It doesn't happen a lot, but they will change them.
Okay.
And based on how these 30 companies are doing, they kind of extrapolate that over the entire New York Stock Exchange, over the entire Dow.
That.
Kind of give you an idea of what's going on with the Dow.
So you mean to tell me, Forrest, real quick question, a person like me, these 30 companies decide what's really going to happen, like period across everything? We didn't know that.
They give you a broad indication of what's going on.
No, right. Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what that meant. Honestly, all these years.
These 30 companies, these companies are all in different segments, different market segments, and they kind of give you a broad indication of what's going on. Then the other market is the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500 is a stock market index.
Okay.
Basically, it's a measure of how well the overall stock market is performing, and it includes around 500 of the largest companies in the United States. Again, it's an index. It gives you it's more broader than the Dow 30, but they tend to do the same thing, and oftentimes with the same results.
Okay, so before you go to the NASDAQ, I want to ask Santana. Santana, when clients come to you, do they understand the Dow 30 the way, Forrest, when you say that to them, are they like me? What's happening?
Yeah, I think most people are probably more familiar with the S&P.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, one of the things I was going to ask Forrest is, what would you recommend people search for how the market is doing? I'm a Yahoo Finance guy. Okay. And people, I about 3 to 4 times a day I go to Yahoo and look at how the market is doing for the day. What other websites do you
That's a great
you
question.
personally to just
So without getting into any recommendations, I would just simply say, listen, Google is an amazing thing. You go to the search window on Google, you can type in a company, you can type in a specific market, like you can type in Dow 30. You could type in, or what is the Dow 30? What is the S&P 500? What is NASDAQ? You can type in a question. If you want specifics on a company, you can type in that company. If you know the ticker symbol to that company's stock, you can type in that ticker symbol, and you can get a plethora of information. You literally can go back to the beginning, to the formation of the company up until yesterday, or if it's real time, up until right now. You have to understand how to read that information, but it's out there for you.
So Forrest and Santana, even, for people like me working with someone like you still suggest, like, still look into those things yourself. So when you're talking to your financial advisor, you're educating yourself. I hate to say this, don't still become financial illiterate because someone's managing your finances. You still should do some homework. And so when they're talking to you about the Dow 30, like they're talking to me, I would not dare sit in front of Santana and Forrest and not have done my homework, because I'm waiting for you guys to quiz me and say, well, Christine, what's changed in the Dow 30 or the S&P 300 as far as, because I want to know. And the thing is, folks, we read all over the news where people are entrusting people to manage their finances. And I'm not going to say it's not the best thing to do, but it's not when you don't understand what's happening. So to Santana's point and Forrest's point, no one's giving any recommendations. I can tell you what I do. They can't tell you, but I'm going to tell you, I look at Yahoo Finance. That is like on my phone as an app. So we're clear.
I've used that also. I've used that.
Yeah.
I gave my youngest son an assignment. He was asking me about the market shortly before he graduated from college. And I said, before we get into what the market is about, I need you to come back and tell me what the market is. The research he did on the Dow 30 was mind-boggling. And specifically, he came back and said, Dad, did you know that the Dow Jones industry is actually the name of the people who invented it? I said, yeah, I knew that. I'm surprised you. He said, yeah, it's Charles Dow and Edward Jones. And did you know that that's been around since 1896? I said,
Forrest, they don't teach us this stuff in school. I took everything up to differential equation. Dude, I've never heard of that.
Well, one of the things about Dow Jones, we focus on the industrial part, but it also has 20 transportation stocks and 15 utility stocks. So we always see the industrial, but it's still other stocks that's a part of that. But this requires education, and I think what we plan to do along this journey in season 3 is to kind of give you a framework to understand finances and how first to know what's going on before you get to a point of choosing an advisor or what an advisor. Yeah. Do the possible first. Do what you can do. Spend time learning. I mean, even when we get to budgeting, anybody can pull out a spreadsheet. Everybody should have Excel. Yeah. If you have a laptop, you got Excel. So, if we come to the point of creating a template for you, you have Excel. And everyone has online banking. So if you need to download activity, this is just, we're trying to teach you how to fish. And
I'll simplify it even more, because I know folk, present company included, who are not that computer literate. All right.
Forrest, I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, listen. Everybody has a legal pad and a pen.
I was going to do this.
All right.
Forrest is still old school. So if you have a budget template, fill in the blanks and make sure you balance it. I just want to be perfectly clear. Guys, this is our last part 3 of giving you a high level overview. Moving forward, we're getting down to the business. We just wanted to give you guys a high level overview of all the different aspects of finances before these guys break it down for you at a high level so you can then consult with someone. The purpose of this last overview podcast with the Finance Squad is for you to pick the right financial advisor, know that there's a difference, there's certifications, and for you to have a clear understanding of at least what Dow 30 is, S&P 500, and now we've got about to talk about this NASDAQ. I'm going to tell you right now, this NASDAQ had me twisted. Okay, I want to be clear, had me totally twisted. So Forrest and Santana, hit it, because I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, NASDAQ is the newest of the three we talked about today, the Dow 30, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is actually the newest. And that was actually brought about by the SEC. The SEC urged the NASDAQ to put together a market of stocks that weren't on some of the other indices, some of the other markets. It wasn't in the Dow 30, it wasn't in the S&P, but it was pertinent. It moved the needle. The NASDAQ come about in 1971. NASDAQ in and of itself is an acronym. It's an acronym for, this is a mouthful, the National Association of Securities Dealers and Automated Quotations.
That is a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. They shorten that to NASDAQ. And like I said, it's a market for, it's a global electronic market for buying and selling securities. So when in the 70s, when the powers that be knew we were shifting to the computer age, to buy and sell stock, you on Wall Street in the past, you really needed boots on the ground to perform that. And they had this stuff called ticker tape. That's where that term comes from. NASDAQ comes around, and that's more of what that was the introductory to the electronic marketplace. And that come about in 1971. Actually, NASDAQ's about to have a birthday, and I'm a nerd out on you. February 4th of 1971.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Only reason why I know this is because I was born in 1971. That's the reason why I know this. I just want to be clear. I don't want you to think everything is. So I want to be clear. Like one of the things that, Forrest said earlier about the Wall Street movie, he's not talking about Wolf on Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. No. He's talking about the original one.
The original.
That had, what's his name in it? I can't think of his name right now. It was on the tip of my tongue.
Michael Douglas.
Thank you. That had Michael Douglas in it. And let me tell you something. Both of those movies, at the time when I watched both of them, I got excited and I almost wanted to be that woman who was making it and breaking it on the floor, doing trades, because it was like really high power driven. And so for me, as a Black woman, I didn't see myself represented. In that space. So then I kind of look elsewhere, but those movies were interesting. So I just wanted to clear that up because our demographic force, they're thinking the Leonardo DiCaprio.
No.
When you said Wall Street, they don't know about the Michael Douglas. So why don't you go watch it on YouTube? You can watch both of them on YouTube and check them out.
It's the original. And
so,
the whole hustle and bustle. In that movie, how they were trading, how they were buying and selling, that's how it used to be done before the internet, before things went electronic. That's how it was done. And everything about that excited me.
It was like you said, before we went electronic, this is how we were making money and making
That's how we did.
So the question I want to ask you guys, when you talk about, because every time they show on TV, and I watch a lot of news, talk radio, and a lot of like news radio, news shows. And one of the things I watch is CNN. I'm really big on CNN. I watch it a lot, probably way more than people think. But I like it when they ring the bell to start trading, and it really kind of blows my mind because I really didn't understand the Dow 30 versus the S&P versus the NASDAQ. So when you look at that, what are we looking at? Because all of those things are happening. You'll see those three lines and there's different things happening on each one of them. So like if I'm talking to one of you guys and you give me homework to say, Christine, start watching this or start watching that, what am I watching for? We like the pluses, the minuses, and then there's some straight lines. Like what do those symbols mean is what I'm asking, because I don't know.
I'm going to let Santana take that one because I personally wouldn't give that to you as a homework assignment. So I'm going to let Santana have that one.
I want to know what all those pluses and minuses mean. Santana, I'm out here watching it. They be going up and down. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Well, you're watching the activity of the market in that particular day, the up and down, the changes in values and stuff like that. So one of the things that from an advisor standpoint that you ask your clients not to do is not to watch that all the time.
Exactly.
I say that is because you would wear your advisor out and you would wear yourself out. So I will say it we're asking you not to do that. Because,
Exactly.
Good job.
because
Folks, did you hear that?
if you're in the market
Yes.
and you're concerned about day-to-day activity, then you should be day trading probably. Because you
Yeah.
got to look at the market. You look at the performance of the market over a period of time,
Yeah.
and not the period of time is not 24 hours.
Yeah. Most of the homework I give you is going to be focused more so on your personal goals.
Yes.
Okay.
Not the markets. Watching the market is like watching paint dry. It's like watching grass grow. It's really not fun.
And if you don't understand it, one of the things I want people to understand is I watch it because I'm interested in numbers. I just watch it for that reason. But I've never picked up the phone to say, trade, do this. Like, I don't do that. And I think a lot of people pull me out. It's going down. No, what you don't understand is the stock market long game is like wine. It gets better in season. You got to let it season, marinate, and just let the expert at the winery, which is our people here, financial advisors, watch your little wine vineyard. Let the wines marinate. And by the time you pull out a 2023 bottle of Merlot, 20 years from now, it's going to be priceless. So you just need to just let it marinate, let them do what they do. Because I know a lot of people who watch that, because I talk with my guy friends, they're like, oh man, I gotta call my advisor. I want out of this. I'm like, dude, just give it a minute. That was a bad 2 days. Come up.
Yeah. When
Don't do it.
when I got into the market personally to save for retirement. So why was I in the market? To save for retirement.
Right.
Well, generally speaking, that's between the ages of 62 and 67. For me, let's say 65.
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old. Well, a long time ago, I was 40 years old. Whatever was going on in the market when I was 40 years old,
right,
in my retirement account that I'm going to use when I'm 65, is kind of irrelevant. I'm 40. I'm not retiring today. So what does it matter what's happening in the market today?
Yeah.
Now, generally speaking, because sometimes what happens today does matter, even though this account isn't going to be used until I'm 65. But generally speaking, it's a retirement account. So day to day, yeah, that's typically not a conversation that we're having.
And Santana, I'm probably sure starting out, you have a lot of clients who are like that. They're like on the edge, just like you first say, don't do it. Leave it alone. Let me focus.
Well, the thing that a lot of people don't know is even if the market is poorly performing that day, if you execute, if it's in a mutual fund, that is not going to settle, immediately. So just because but the timing, just because you're looking, it could be up by the time everything is settled. So
those things don't settle till 4 p.m. So it doesn't matter what it's doing at 12 noon.
So it's a long game.
It's the long game.
At our company, we say, listen, if you're not in for the long, then you probably should be in the market. Like if you need to be doing something, you need to go get a business. Like if you're looking for immediate return, it's probably better suited for you to be in a business venture, because the market is a long-term game. It's for retirement.
It's for
retirement, and it's also to keep the value of your money up with inflation. Because if you don't do anything with your money, inflation is going to eat it up. Correct. So you have to. In my earlier course, where they say the number one reason to invest is keep your money, the value of your money up.
Correct.
That's it. Because inflation will eat up even 100. We say 100,000. If you keep inflation keeps going up, that 100,000 when you need the money is not going to hold the same value. So I think people go to the market for returns when it's the primary thing is to make sure it keeps its value.
And to be clear, when Santana says value, I want to be clear on this. Mm-hmm. What he's talking about is if I have $10, whatever I can buy for $10 in 2020, the ideal is to be able to buy the same thing in 2025, the value. So the spending power of my dollars is the same today as 10 years from now.
That's a great analogy, Because I think sometimes, even when we look at 401ks, and I'm talking to the people who work for companies, and I hear this, oh no, my 401k is great. And guys, by the way, this is high level. They'll get into 401ks in a whole podcast. But one of the things I wanted to say was that people don't understand sometimes your 401k is not transferable. And you think, now if they let you go tomorrow and you've been there for 40 years, that 401k, all that little money sitting over there, that's their money. And that's the whole thing. So you got to know and understand the difference where you say, well, I don't need a financial person. I got 401k with my job. Do you really have 401k at your job? Do you really? See, that's so when people match you dollar for dollar, you need to start having a conversation about how do you start transferring that 401k plan somewhere else to be managed, right? Because that way is with you and every dollar you invest stays with you long term. So folks, those are the things we're going to be talking about because I was a person who invested in 401k with a company. And when I decided to leave that company, I was shocked and amazed that my 401k was not transferable the way I thought it was. I was able to take some funds, but not all the funds. So again, folks, this is a high level overview. We just want to make it clear that you need to start paying attention to what's happening with your finances. We're going to go to a quick commercial break and they're getting ready to tell you what the challenge is. And y'all better listen up. Y'all need to start posting stuff too when it comes to these financial challenges. I'm posting my video to say I got my budget ready. I'm answering the challenge. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Look at me, I'm on. 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 Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Can't stop, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Hold up. Yeah. I'm chasing a bag, I'm racing the clock. Look at them block, watching them flop. Used to see this in my sleep. When I ain't had shit but my thoughts in the car, I really was lost. Now I'm public with the soundscapes. Niggas floss, I'm really pulling strings for the pound cake. I see you went for a puppet in the clown face for a little wage. That shit the talk of the town is late. Still me, I never switch sides.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Loving how you wind up for me. Tonight is all on me. Mash up the place for me. Yeah, yeah. She just wanna highlight. Ooh, that body talk to me. I need a taste, baby. Loving the way you move around me. No more delay. No, you can wait to shut it down. Won't you show me how you work it? I can't find no flaws, you perfect. 'Cause every time that you come around my way, I keep falling again. I keep falling again. And every time that you come across my mind, I keep falling again. I keep falling again. In love.
So guys, obviously, if you're watching the 5 F's to Love on our network, we have shows Monday through Sunday. All of the conversations are around relationships, finance, and possibilities. So we want you to understand at the 5 F's to Love network, we want you to get your entire life together. And it all starts with not only love, relationships, but making sure your finances are on point. And that's the reason why we're in a finance squad right now. So again, if you're just joining us right now, and just to let you know, all of our shows are pre-recorded. You can go back and rewind this and start from the beginning and watch it again. We want you to watch it as many times as you need to, because now we're getting ready to get into the challenge. Folks, I'm going to tell you, challenges I take very seriously. Like, I get all in on challenges. So like this week, you guys made it a pretty cool challenge. And I think it's great because it gives people an opportunity to really work with other people. So kind of talk us through how people can identify an accountability partner to start writing down what they spend, save, their current investment, savings, and future big purchases. Because people hate to. That's like your personal business. That's the secrets.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
so what is your advice to identifying what that accountability partner would look like?
So the accountability partner for me is someone that's going to keep it 100 with you. That's how my son would say it, right? Somebody that's going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Your accountability partner shouldn't be a yes man or a yes woman. It should be somebody that's going to be honest with you. You share with them. It can be your spouse. If you're not married, it can be a friend. It can be the financial professional who you have identified to help get you on track. It could be your CPA. It's somebody who you trust and somebody that's not going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. They're going to keep it honest with you. It doesn't mean, an accountability partner doesn't mean I have to go find somebody who has it together in this area. No. An accountability partner is I have to find somebody that's going to be honest with me about whatever it is we're discussing. And when we get into budgets, listen, budgets are like fingerprint. Everybody has them, but they don't necessarily have to be the same. You have to find something that works for you. Explain how it works for you to your accountability partner so they're on board with what you're trying to do. And then, as they used to say in the military, move out smartly.
I like that.
Well, naturally, if you're married, I would say, easy choice would be your spouse.
Absolutely.
Now, that's tricky because sometimes the couple has problems with their financial behavior.
Most of the time. Most of the time.
So if it's a couple issue, then naturally, this is when you may want to interject a financial coach. Someone that can just. This is the point where it would be appropriate to have a financial coach, or CPA, or your advisor. Now, there depending on what software the advisor uses, there are some softwares out there that will alert you to death when you're going over budget. It will bing, bing, bing. You will get emails. You will get all the information. So it's the first time I instituted software with budgeting for clients, they quickly told me I can't take all that. Like, that's just too intense. I mean, it's like, okay, you kind of know you're messing up, but I don't need to get an email every time.
It makes you feel like a failure. Some people feel like the walls are closing in when you get too intense with budgeting. So first, like I would say, would be your spouse or your best friend, but it takes being vulnerable. Like, hey, I'm having some problems with my spending behavior.
Yeah.
And I trust you enough to be honest that I need you to hold me accountable. And
you got to be willing to have a courageous conversation, and like Santana said, you willing to be held accountable.
Yeah. So if we're in the mall and if it's two women at the mall and I told you that I want you to hold me accountable, that means when you pick up that Gucci, Prada.
Oh, I knew he was going to say that.
You say, hey, we talk most of the time. These revelations are given going into the new year. Like you said that you were not going to be buying this stuff unless you save for it. Why are you pulling out the credit card? Now, we have a different discussion if you're pulling out a debit card. But if you're pulling out a credit card, then that's probably a red flag to me that you don't have it.
That's right.
So I'm not trying to police you. I'm just doing what you asked me to do.
That's right.
Right.
Oh, your account.
Doing what you asked me to do.
So, it's no harm, no foul at the end of the day. I think what has to be understood by the listening audience as an advisor or whatever person that's holding you accountable to your financial goals, it has to be a partnership. No one can make you do it.
No.
Right.
No one. Listen, it's no different than going to the gym. If your trainer tells you that you need to eat this many calories and you need to be here 3 times a week. He can't police what you're going to do.
That's right.
So
That's right.
the same thing with being an advisor. It's a relationship. It's a partnership, but the partnership is dictated by what you say your financial goals are. You're crafted the plan because you say where you want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can't say you want to go from Florida to California, but you don't have enough gas to get you past Atlanta. You saved up.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. So have you put away the appropriate amount of
Mm-hmm.
funds? And that's what a plan is. It's like you have a
Right.
destination.
Yeah.
But in order to get to that destination, if the resources have not been allocated, then you won't get to your destination. You'll end somewhere in between where you want to be and where your funds let you go. And that's really
That's what it
in a
comes down
very
to.
layman terms. That's what
like
a plan and advisor. It's where I want to go.
Right.
It's what it's going to take to get there.
Yeah.
And if you don't do what you need to do, you're going to end somewhere between your final destination and where you can actually go.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Forrest.
Part of setting up this whole budget thing is identifying specific goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm setting up my budget is because I want to do these things. These are my goals. Okay. Santana used an analogy going from Florida to California, and you only got enough gas to get to Atlanta. So are these goals have some characteristics? Are they measurable? Are they realistic? Are they accountable? Right? I want to be a millionaire, but I don't want to go to work. Okay, well, that's not realistic.
I love that analogy.
So again, being truthful with ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, I might be a kindergarten school teacher and want to be a millionaire. Being realistic with myself is I got to find another hustle. I got to find something else to do. I got to start a business because it's going to be difficult, not impossible, but difficult to get there from the salary of a kindergarten school teacher.
Right.
They're just not compensated, well, personally, the way I think they should be compensated.
Right.
But they're not on that pay scale. So
Exactly.
it's doable, but they're going to have a meager standard of living because they got to save most of what they generate.
And so folks, the bigger conversation that they're talking about is what we're doing next week. So you guys need to be prepared. We gave you the first 3 podcasts to familiarize yourself with each one of them and just the basic overview of what they're going to be covering on the Finance Squad. I'm excited because as you guys talk, it gives me a chance to kind of review where I'm at, what I'm going through. And I've shared with people, and I'm very transparent. I'm working with them. I don't know what y'all doing because I got to get my money right. I've invested all my 401k and all my savings into start my businesses. So I got to do a restart, but it's got to be a quick restart because I'm 52. And a lot of us have done this. Like we leave jobs and you want to start your own business and you didn't do it the right way because I didn't talk to one of them before I did it. I just did it. But now I still got time. I can make up and make some things happen. I can either do this or look for a really rich guy, right? And marry him and just, learn how to cook because most of them want you to cook or something. I don't know. But the thing is, the odds of that happening is pretty slim. That's why I'm going to work with these guys. So when we get back next week, I want to be clear what we're doing. You guys, next week is Budgeting 101, Getting on the Right Side of Your Money, Part 1. This is real business conversation. Please get your notebooks and everything ready. These guys are bringing to you their expertise. And trust me, they know exactly what they're talking about. Don't forget some of the things they highlighted. If you're looking for a financial advisor versus a financial counselor, you need to ask more questions. You need to find out whether they're certified. For all of us who are interested in looking at investing our money, yes, it's good to have a great understanding of the Dow 30, the S&P 500, and also the NASDAQ, but let the experts be the experts. Don't you jump on and start following stuff and thinking you know better than them. Listen to the guys who went to school, got all these certifications. I always tell people, just because I know differential equations doesn't mean I know how to balance my checkbook and manage my money right. I can balance my checkbook, but that whole managing your money right, that's why I work with these guys. So we're going to see you next week. And let me tell you something. Don't be so prideful that you don't understand what you need when you need it. Be open. Get your accountability partner. I already know who mine is. get your accountability partner, and start planning those things out so that you guys can be ready for next week so we can talk about the budget. We'll see you guys next week on the Finance Squad. Get your money right.